Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you a great box cake mix hack, and best of all, this can be made with pretty much any flavor of cake mix. You ready? Let's get started. Now this is an old school cake mix hack and it's been around in different variations. I'm using today the Devil's Food cake mix. Now this is a 15.25 ounce box of cake mix. Now originally the recipe calls for an 18.25 ounce box of cake mix, and it's been, I think, decades since an 18 ounce box of cake mix was around. If you can find one, then you're lucky. So most of the time you're going to find the 15.25, that's what I'm using, or either the 13.25 ounce seems to be pretty much the norm. So I'm using the full box of cake mix, and then to that I'm adding in 1 cup of milk. Now on the back of the package it usually says 1 cup of water. So we substituted the water for milk. Okay. Now next we're going to put in 3 eggs. I'm using large eggs, and my eggs are at room temperature because those room temperature eggs blend so much better into your cake mix, to your batter. Now a quick tip, like when I cracked my egg, I got a little shell, and in order to get the shell out, using the other half of the shell, I have found that it is easiest to get any shell that you crack into the bowl out like that. Now on the back of the package of the cake mix that you're using, we're going to be following those portion sizes. So for the 1 cup of water, we use 1 cup of milk. That's the substitution. And now for the oil, we're using regular vegetable oil. You can also use canola oil. So either one of those oils would work just fine. And on the back of the package, it has that we're going to be using a 1/2 cup of oil. But instead we're using 1/4 of a cup of oil. Now in the description box below, I will have a list of all the ingredients I used and those little variations as well. And the reason why we're going to be using half the oil it specifies is because we're going to be adding some additional liquid, and so we don't want our cake to be soupy. So in the bowl I put in the 1/4 of a cup of vegetable oil. I'm going to go ahead, turn on my mixer, and kind of get things going. So again, in my bowl I have the full box of cake mix, I have 1 cup of milk, and I have the 1/4 a cup of oil. Now to that, I'm going to slowly go ahead and add in my eggs so they can become incorporated one at a time, just like that. Now if you are new to my channel, I want to welcome you in, and if you're a returner, I want to thank you for coming back. On my channel, love to share what I cook and I bake in my kitchen for my family. Love sharing recipes, especially the recipes that have come from my mom. It's just a way for me to keep the memory alive of her and my wonderful aunties who were just incredible cooks. In addition to that, it gives my nieces and my nephews a chance to also see the recipes that are both near and far. And if you're looking for more recipes on how to doll up a box of cake mix, I'll share with my playlist down below. I have over 30 different box cake mix that I've made, along with some recipes for homemade frosting. Now in between mixing my batter, I like to stop the blades, scrape down the sides and the bottom to make sure that we've captured all of the dry mix in there. Now once it looks nice and it's blended, now you may have like some small lumps here and there. Don't worry, those will bake out, but you don't want any big lumps. You want to make sure that everything is pretty much well blended. If you over mix your cake mix, what'll happen is it'll be tough. Your cake will be really tough. And so to keep it nice and tender, you want to make sure that you don't over mix your batter. Now in my pan, this is a 13 by 9 pan. I sprayed it with some of this non-stick spray, and so we're going to go ahead and spray the sides and the bottom. Now when it comes to this cake, you can use the Devil's Food. That's what I'm doing, and basically it's going to end up being, if you've heard of black bottom cake or black forest cake, either one of those, I've kind of seen it referenced both ways. This is going to be a take on that. You can also use this with lemon Lemon box cake mix works wonderful because then you're going to end up with this wonderful lemon and cherry combination. You can also use this with pineapple cake mix, so you have a nice pineapple and cherry. You can use yellow cake mix, vanilla cake mix. So there's different kinds of cake mixes that you can use to make this particular box cake hack, just kind of depending on what type of cake that you're deciding to make that day. Now while I'm doing this, I do have my oven preheating on 350 degrees, and our cake is going to bake in our oven at about 25 to 35 minutes. I always say check it at around 20 minutes. Once you can start to smell the cake, the aroma of the cake throughout your house, that lets you know your cake is about done. Next, I'm going to use a 20-ounce can of cherry pie filling. Now, depending on the brand, it will either be a 20-ounce can or it might say 21-ounce can. Either one of those is fine. And so this is the cherry pie filling is what that I'm going to be using. So for our cherry pie filling, we're going to use 3/4 of the can. So we're going to be using the majority of the can of the cherry pie filling. We're going to save just a little bit, about 1/4 of the can is what we're going to be saving. So by spoonfuls, I take it and I dot it all throughout. I like to do mine in rows, and so I'm going to be putting spoonfuls of the pie filling all throughout, just like that. And this is why we used a little less oil than the recipe calls for on the back of the box. We used 1/4 of a cup instead of the full 1/2 a cup, because we're introducing this additional pie filling and the moisture that it's going to bring to our cake mix, especially as it bakes and gets distributed throughout our cake mix. So next what I do is I take my butter knife and I go back and forth and I make zigzags, just like that. Go back and forth. You want to make some zigzags. I go back and forth, and then I just kind of try to connect the cherries, and so I just make that nice little pattern right like that. This is going to help to continue to distribute the cherries and the filling all throughout our cake as it bakes up. Now, if you're enjoying my content, be sure to click that subscribe button and show this video some love and give it a thumbs up. Now, once I have my cherries all distributed, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put in the oven, and it's going to bake at that 350, and it's going to be 25 to 35 minutes. But remember to check it at about 20 minutes just to kind of see how it's baking up. And I like to, once it's nice and done, and when you stick a tester in the center, want to stick it in a couple of different places. You can use a toothpick or a tester stick if you have one. It comes out clean, or with just a couple of crumbs on it, you know your cake is ready. So my cake has baked in the oven for 30 minutes, and it has come out. It is looking good. It is smelling good. We're going to let this cool completely, and we're going to do a quick topping for our cake. So for my topping, I'm going to be using some Cool Whip. You can use a variety of different things to top your cake. You can do a traditional frosting. You can do Cool Whip. This is what I like to use, and it just makes the cake even that much more, to me, yummier and nice and light. And this is an 8-ounce pack of Cool Whip. I like to stir my Cool Whip. This is going to make it nice, light, and fluffy, and we're going to spread it on top of our nice cooled cake. Now, if you want to use a homemade whipped cream, if you want to use homemade whipped cream to put on top of this cake, in the description box below, I'll put a link to my vlog where I show how to make really great homemade whipped cream. And so I'll put that link down below for your reference. And I'm going to be using the entire 8-ounce pack of the Cool Whip. And what's nice is that you can make this cake a day ahead of time and then put it in your refrigerator, let it get nice and chilled, and then when you're ready to serve it, you can go ahead and bring it out. Memorial Day and 4th of July is just right around the corner, and so this is a wonderful cake. You can also add some berries on top to do a red, white, and blue cake if you used a vanilla. If you use a vanilla cake mix and with the cherries, and then do the blueberries on top of the Cool Whip, there's different ways that you can just kind of doll it up to make it your own. And so with the Cool Whip, I want to make sure I go end to end and just go ahead and smooth all over just like that. Now with that 1/4 of a can of the pie filling that we saved, we're going to use that for our decorations to put on top. This is just a nice way to kind of finish off the cake. I like to go ahead and dab just that pie filling over the top. I like to do it in a straight line. And to finish off the top of my cake, I'm going to do a simple decoration by just using my butter knife. And I take my butter knife and I go through the lines that I created up and down, just like that. Just go up and down. And when I do this, I try not to disturb the cake that's underneath. I'm going to rotate my pan and do the same pattern the opposite way, going up and down, creating those zigzags, and it just creates a nice pattern just to kind of finish off our cake. Now today I decided to use the Devil's Food cake mix, and I've done it with the yellow cake mix as well. But comment down below and let me know, would you do the pineapple cherry combination, or would you do the lemon cake and cherry combination, or do you have like a different cake mix that you'd want to try with this combination? Now, if you want to serve the cake the next day and you make it ahead of time, after we went on and we did the pattern, I will cover it with some plastic wrap, put it in the refrigerator, and then we will go ahead and serve it when we're ready. But I went on and I cut into it. It is looking good. You can see those wonderful cherries that are right there at the bottom that have settled in the cake, and a little bit of that pie filling is also throughout our cake. But I'm going to give y'all the first bite. And something that I have found that the next day, the cake flavor really is enhanced because that cherry really comes through. Go ahead and take your bite. I'm going to take my bite. Wow. This cake comes out so good, and it's really easy to make, and it is truly a crowd pleaser. But if you are having a big celebration or party, you might want to try my punch bowl cake, and in the playlist you'll find the recipe for my punch bowl cake, which is great for large parties. Well, that is it for me today. I hope you give this recipe a try. I'm going to share with you a visual of all the different ingredients that I used to put this cake together. I have my milk, my vegetable oil, my eggs, my cake mix, my can of cherry pie filling, and my Cool Whip. Well, I hope you enjoyed spending time with me in my kitchen. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button on your way out. If you like this video, don't forget to show it some love. Give it a thumbs up, hype it up, click share, and share this video with a friend or family. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you can come back and visit me again in my kitchen. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.